In the dead of night, on July 20th, 1969, two human beings stepped onto a world no human had ever touched before. As millions around the globe watched flickering black and white images on grainy television screens, Neil Armstrong's voice crackled through the static.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. And just like that, we were on the moon. Or were we? For decades, this achievement stood as humanity's proudest moment. But in the shadow of that triumph, a darker question emerged. One that continues to ripple through documentaries, forums, coffee shops, and conspiracy corners of the web. Did we really go to the moon? To understand the depth of this question, we have to return to the world that birthed it. A world locked in a battle not just of ideology, but of cosmic ambition. It's the 1960s, the Cold War. America and the Soviet Union are waging a silent war, one measured not in bullets, but in orbits. In 1957, the Soviets launched Sputnik, the first satellite. In 1961, they sent the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into space. Suddenly, America was behind. President John F. Kennedy knew the stakes. In 1962, under the blazing Texas sun, he declared,
"Hey, Texas, we choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard."
We choose to go to the moon, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. It was a declaration of cosmic intent, a promise to land a man on the moon before the decade ended. The Apollo program would cost more than $25 billion, over $150 billion today, and would involve over 400,000 engineers, scientists, and technicians. The mission was immense, and on July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 launched from Cape Kennedy. 4 days later, the lunar module, Eagle, touched down in the Sea of Tranquility. But not everyone bought it. Almost immediately, whispers of doubt began to surface. At first, they were quiet, isolated mutterings by skeptics and fringe thinkers, but by the 1970s, after Vietnam and Watergate shattered America's trust in its own government, those whispers grew louder. The main arguments? First, the shadows. Skeptics point to photographs taken on the lunar surface showing shadows falling in different directions. Proof, they say, that artificial lights were used on a movie set. Second, the flag. The American flag seems to flutter, as if caught in a breeze. But how could it wave in the vacuum of space? Then there's the radiation, the Van Allen belts. Detractors argue that no human could survive passing through this high radiation zone without lethal exposure, and yet, astronauts came back unscathed. They ask why no stars appear in the photos, why the landing module left no crater beneath it, why, despite our massive technological leaps, we haven't returned in over 50 years. One of the loudest voices was Bill Kaysing, a former Rocketdyne employee who, in 1976, published "We Never Went to the Moon." He claimed the landings were staged in a secret studio, likely by none other than legendary director Stanley Kubrick. It sounds absurd, but the theory took root, bolstered by documentaries like Conspiracy Theory, Did We Land on the Moon?, and countless viral YouTube videos. And for every answer offered by NASA, conspiracy theorists seem to find another inconsistency. But let's take a breath, step back, and ask, does any of this hold up? Consider the shadows. Yes, they fall in different directions because the lunar surface is uneven. The moon has no atmosphere to diffuse sunlight, creating stark, strange lighting. It's a photographic quirk, not a smoking gun. The waving flag? It wasn't waving. It was rippling due to inertia. The astronauts twisted the pole as they planted it, and without air resistance to stop it, the fabric kept moving. The Van Allen belts? The Apollo spacecraft passed through them in a matter of minutes, minimizing exposure. NASA carefully calculated the trajectory to avoid the most dangerous zones. No stars? Simple. The cameras were set for daytime exposure. On the moon, the surface is so brightly lit by the sun that stars, far dimmer by comparison, don't register, just like they don't in daytime photos on Earth. No crater. That's not how the moon's dust works. The engine's thrust wasn't enough to carve out a crater, especially in low gravity and with no atmosphere. And Stanley Kubrick? Even his own daughter laughed at the idea. Kubrick was a perfectionist. If he'd faked it, it would have looked better. But the real proof isn't in the photos. It's in the technology we left behind. The retro reflectors, small mirrors placed by Apollo 11, 14, and 15, still bounce lasers back to Earth. Observatories around the world use them to measure the moon's distance with inch-perfect precision. 12 men walked on the moon. They brought back 842 pounds of lunar rock and soil. Geologists around the world have studied them. Their composition, ancient, airless, and scorched by solar radiation, is unlike anything found on Earth. Thousands of hours of telemetry, voice recordings, and engineering data exist. So do high-resolution photos from modern satellites that show the exact landing sites, with astronaut footprints and rover tracks still visible. Even China's and India's space programs have independently confirmed the Apollo sites. So, why do the doubts persist? Because moon landing denial isn't about facts. It's about faith, or the loss of it. In an age of disinformation, where truth is filtered through lenses of politics, media, and personal bias, trust is the first casualty. When institutions fail us, when wars are fought on false pretenses, when leaders lie, we begin to question everything. The moon landing becomes more than an event. It becomes a mirror, reflecting how much we believe in science, in our governments, even in each other. But if you truly think it was fake, ask yourself this. Could 400,000 people, scientists, engineers, technicians, astronauts, all keep a secret that big for over 50 years? Could every nation that tracked Apollo's signals, even rival powers like the Soviet Union, stay silent? Or is it more likely that we really did it? That's one small step for man. We went to the moon, not for glory, not for politics, but because we dared. Because when faced with the impossible, humanity reached upward, not in fear, but in wonder. So look up tonight, find the moon, and know that human footprints are still there, silent, undisturbed, waiting for the next small step and the next giant leap.